Hi, everybody, and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode, we're going to do a top 10. Topic of the top 10: Top 10 Tough Enough Contestants. And if you're not familiar with Tough Enough, it's been an on again, off again WWE reality TV show, somewhat in kayfabe, somewhat not, to find new talent. Now, I'm not going to include people that sent videotapes to Tough Enough but weren't selected to be part of the main cast. We know that there's been like MJF and ODB have done that, but did not get selected. What we're solely going to go by is people that actually made the show. With that being said, number 10, one of the winners of the first season of Tough Enough, Maven. And honestly, the only real reason Maven makes this list is because I thought he had potential. I don't think he ever really got there. I think it would have served Maven better if he would have won the second or third season when they kind of had a template and knew a little bit of what to do with the guys coming out of Tough Enough and girls coming out of Tough Enough. But I thought he was solid for what he was. Unfortunately, because of the nature of the contest, they had to put him on TV before he was ready to be on TV. His one shining moment is his Royal Rumble elimination of The Undertaker. And his music. His theme music was amazing. That's his other shining moment. But anyway, for that, Maven needs to make the list. Now our number 9. A woman that's made most of her career outside of the WWE, surprisingly, Chelsea Green. Chelsea has been signed a few times to WWE, never made it to the main roster, has been in their developmental, had some injury issues her last time, but she's been awesome as Laurel Van Ness in Impact and now as Chelsea Green as the Hot Mess. She's an awesome wrestler, an awesome talent, an awesome personality. She seems to have really bad timing when she gets her injuries. It seems to be right on the precipice of her doing something really great that she gets injured, which is probably why she's not higher on this list, because she has all of the intangibles to be one of the top couple people on this list. It's just, again, timing and bad luck have put her down this far. Now our number 8, Matt Morgan. I do not know how we don't look at Matt Morgan and how he didn't end up getting booked like a Samoa Joe or a Kane. I know he had a successful run in TNA, but this guy, when they say he's the blueprint, he should have been the blueprint on what a superstar should look like. He was tall, athletic, had charisma. He wasn't the best at promos, but it didn't help that they gave him a stuttering gimmick right off the bat. I don't think he ever really made up for that. Plus the fact that most of his run was in TNA, and during the times that he was in TNA, they were in a real big state of flux as to who was actually running the show and who had creative ideas. So I feel like Matt Morgan kind of suffered because of creative. I mean, honestly, I think Matt Morgan could have been as big as Batista. He could have been someone on that level. But I guess some things aren't meant to be, hence why Matt Morgan's only at 8 on this list. And his potential probably, if I were to say the potential of everyone on this list, his potential was probably one of the highest on here. But again, because of things probably outside of Matt Morgan's control, he didn't have that as successful of a career. Now our number 7 is a very controversial wrestler, Eva Marie has been successful in everywhere she's been, but then she's also been very polarizing everywhere she's been. She seems to rub a lot of people the wrong way, like Shawn Michaels or Sonny had before her. And it's not that she's not an amazing talent. Her run in Lucha Underground gets her on this list just for that. I don't know what it is. And I hate to say, I don't know personally any of the stories, but I have a friend that's been fired from a bunch of jobs. And we all do. We have friends that get fired. And every time he gets fired, it's because management didn't like him. The common thread through all of those is him. He can't see that he's the one causing the issues. And I think that's the same thing with Eva Lise here. Like I said, I don't know her personally. I only know what stories have been reported. And that could all be smear jobs put out by people who just don't like her. She may be fantastic and be easy to work with. There's also another saying, perception is reality. And the perception of her is she's difficult to work with. So, that being said, I think she's an amazing talent. I think she definitely... I don't think we've seen the best of her, and hopefully we get to see her get more chances where she can redeem herself and be what I think she can be, which again is a top tier talent on this. Now, coming off of that, our number 6. Probably one of the few people on here that's actually main evented pay-per-views, Ryback. I know Ryback's a joke now. I know his social media presence is terrible. People love to hate on him. He's pretty much, I don't know if he's playing it as a character. I don't know if he's trying to run some gimmick. But people just hate Ryback now. And the funny thing is, there was a time during the CM Punk championship reign where there was a significant amount, WWE Championship, there was a significant amount of fans that wanted Ryback to win it off of CM Punk. And if they would have pulled the trigger on that, I don't think they would have made a bad decision by that. But they were kind of in a no-win situation. You had CM Punk, who obviously was the guy they wanted to be in that spot, and you couldn't have him lose. Then you had Ryback, who organically also got to that spot, and you couldn't have him lose either. So no matter what they did, they were going to kind of ruin somebody's build. Unfortunately for Ryback, it was him. But I think he, even with that, with his career the way it went, I think he definitely deserves to be on this list. Again, we're talking about the career, we're not talking about their social media presence. For social media presence, people hate him. Again, like I said. So, that's Ryback. Coming from that, our number 5, I guess you could call her, they've never determined her role, an authority figure. I believe they've called him GM. Sonya Deville. For that and how big of a screen presence she has, also her success as a wrestler. Sonya, to me, is fantastic. I liked her from the first time I seen her on Tough Enough. I thought she had something to her. The MMA background really helped build her credibility. She definitely has a look. She has a style that translates very well into wrestling. I enjoy Sonya Deville, and I really love her as an authority figure because she could play it either way. She could play it very much on the face side, and she could play it very much on the heel side. And she can lean into both sides of her personality to pull that out of her. I really enjoy her, and not for nothing, her drip is untouched. It's between her and Seth Rollins, they got some of the best suit games that I've seen on WWE television ever. I mean, she finds a way to find some of the most fantastic suits for work I've ever seen, and she looks amazing in them. So I think with her character, and I think we are going to see more of her as a wrestler. So for me, that's why Sonya makes it up this high. Now our number 4. Sonya's best friend. I know they're really good friends in real life. I don't know why I did the air quotes. Mandy Rose. The reason Mandy gets a little bit higher than Sonya here, because I think they're both extremely talented and I enjoy both of their work. Mandy has had a little bit more in-ring success. Right now, currently, she's a big part of the NXT show with Toxic Attraction, her thing with Otis. I know it was goofy, the Mandy and Otis thing, but it was still fun to me. Again, much like I said with Sonya Deville, she has an amazing character. She's a beautiful woman, has a great look. She continuously improves in the ring, which is amazing. She keeps getting better every year. I think Mandy Rose, there are a lot of people that kind of discount her just because of how pretty she is and don't put into effect how talented she is as well. And I think that's a real shame because I think she's one of the better women on the roster. Now, and don't get me wrong, there have definitely been women that have only been there just because of their looks. There's definitely been men that have only been there just for their looks. And do I think that's a big part of this? Yeah, I think it helped her a lot. I really do. I think it helped her in some of the years where she wasn't as good as she is now. But with that being said, her character work has always been top notch, which is why she makes it this high in the list for me. Now, our number 3. Probably the most successful outside of WWE wrestler from Tough Enough, Kenny King. Kenny King has been a guy that's pretty much a Ring of Honor legend. He had a decent run in Impact or TNA. I forget if it was TNA or it was turned to Impact yet when he was there. But I think Kenny's another guy who has had a ton of potential, and he still does. He's still wrestling, and he's still wrestling at a really solid level. He kind of got a knock on him of a bridge burner when he left Ring of Honor while being one of the tag team champions. So I don't know if companies look at him and think of him as possibly a liability. But I've always seen Kenny King as someone that could have been groomed to be a Ring of Honor champion, that could have been groomed to be an Impact champion. With that even being said, he's been very successful even outside of that. Despite all of that, he's been extremely successful. And Kenny King's just a guy I really like, and I think he's been slept on for the last decade and a half, and I think he should really get more kudos than he does. Now, coming from Kenny King, our number 2, just talked about Drip with Sonya Deville. How can we talk about Drip without talking about Johnny Drip Drip, Johnny Nitro, John Hennigan, Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, John Morrison. The guy with 1,000,001 names that all start with John. John Morrison, to me, if we talk about potential, and if I had all of these people and all the creative control, John Morrison would definitely be the number 1 guy on the list because I think he should have been a WWE champion multiple times over. John Morrison, to me, should have had the similar or same career that a Jeff Hardy has. And it's no knock on Jeff Hardy, or it's no knock on anybody there. He's had a very, very successful career. I just think that there's still more that could have been done with him. John Morrison, again, could have been the new Jeff Hardy. He could have elevated to that. He could have been the new Shawn Michaels type wrestler. I mean, he's a fantastic wrestler. Probably, if you broke down this list, pure in-ring talent, he's the most talented one of all of these people. And that's why he gets up this high. I kind of wish they did more with him. I kind of wish he had some world championship runs to go with this. But I guess, again, I'm not the one in control, so that's why he's here. Now, before we do get to our number 1, if you haven't seen this before, we do a little thing called the best of the rest. Basically, people that were considered for the list but didn't quite make it for whatever reason. First up on the best of the rest, Josh Matthews. Josh has had more success as an announcer than he ever did as a wrestler. The passion and the love for wrestling has always been there. Unfortunately, he came in an era where he was a little bit too small to be featured as a wrestler. But him as a commentator, his commentary work alone made him someone that was in contention for this list. And I think he's an awesome commentator, hence why I was considering him for the list. Next up, Nia. Nia, to me, if she would have had a longer run, she definitely would have made this list. Because the stuff that she did with Jamie Noble and the era, I think she's one that also suffered from her era. The women's division of the time that Nia was there was very much in full divas 2-minute match mode. I loved her character. I loved her and Jamie Noble together. I thought that was amazing. If we could have got it better, if Nia could have came around in this generation, I really think she would have been someone that would have been right up there with the Baileys and Sashas and anybody else you could think of, the Britt Bakers of the world. And, to me, the brevity of her career is what took her off of the list, but her character was so good. I just loved it. So that's why she was considered. And last but not least, on the best of the rest, the Boogie Man. I know it was goofy. I know it was stupid. I know there's some very cringeworthy, terrible things that Boogie Man was involved in. But god damn it, he was funny to me. He made me laugh. I loved everything that the Boogie Man did with King Booker, with Sharmell. Sharmell mentioned him in his in her Hall of Fame acceptance speech. I know he was goofy, and I know it was a gimmick that was 15 years past where it should have worked, but it worked for me. A lot of times, and yes, there were times where it didn't. Yeah, I am not discounting that. But a lot of WWE quote-unquote comedy, or comedy wrestling in general, isn't as funny as people think it's going to be, I guess, when they're writing it out. For me, the Boogie Man is one of the stellar comedic wrestlers of the past 2 decades. Him, R-Truth, Colt Cabana, all guys that I think fit into that role. And I love the Boogie Man's work. Again, he wasn't ever going to be a world champion, but he was always going to be entertaining. Now, before we get into our number one, if you think I put someone up too high, left someone down too low, left someone off the list altogether, let me know what you think. Let me know down here in the comments. Make sure you hit like, share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed and you like what you're seeing here. With all that being said, let's get to our number one. And it's probably telegraphed because you realize you haven't heard him here. And he's a person that's did the most with his rub off of Tough Enough. The only person here that's main evented a WrestleMania. The only person on this list that's been a WWE World Champion. The Miz. Say what you'll say about The Miz, and I'm not the biggest fan of The Miz. I usually, more often than not, find his segments cringeworthy. His staying power, I believe he's been 14 years in the WWE now. The fact that he main evented a WrestleMania, the fact that he's someone that they go to, like this, as of this video recording, this past WrestleMania, he was the guy that they put in a tag team with Logan Paul. He's usually a guy that they could count on to do media appearances. He's a guy that they could count on for the celebrity matches. He's always in high profile situations. He's not a elite tier, A tier wrestler, but he's definitely a solid B plus. And I know that harkens back to his feud with Daniel Bryan. But it's it's where I fit him in, to be honest. He is a solid guy. He's always been a solid wrestler. You're not going to get any 5-star Meltzer matches out of him, but you're also not going to get any 0-star Meltzer matches. He's a guy you could slot into any situation, except for being a face. I don't think he works well as a face. But you could slot him into any feud, and he works well. I especially like when he has someone else to play off of. His best work to me is when he had Damien Sandow as Damien Mizdow, or when he's had Maurice by his side, or even his work with John Morrison. That was amazing too. To me, I think he works best when he's playing off of others, but he's definitely a guy that's done the most with the Tough Enough rub. A guy that's, if you're looking at this list, there is one surefire Hall of Famer right now, and that's The Miz, and probably two. I would say John Morrison will probably make the WWE Hall of Fame. Questionably, I could see Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville making it eventually. I don't know that their body of work is enough to make it right now. Boogie Man has an outside chance. I think WWE might put the Boogie Man in just because I've seen him do stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. Miz is my number one wrestler with the Tough Enough rub. Let me know what you think. Again, if you think I put someone too high, someone too low, left someone off altogether, let me know down here in the comments. And I know if you've watched this long, you've enjoyed this video. If you've watched to the end here, go ahead and give me a Miz TV in the comments so I know that you watched to the end. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been my top 10 Tough Enough participants.